We've been lied to. From the time we were children, our parents, our schools, and even society at large have been drilling a single formula into our heads. Input equals output. The amount of sweat you put in determines the harvest you reap. Hard work pays off. The 10,000-hour rule. If you aren't successful, it must be because you aren't working hard enough. But is that actually true? If it were, please explain this paradox to me. Warren Buffett. This old man is sitting in his office in Omaha right now. What is he doing? He's reading financial reports, he's reading books, or he's simply staring at the ceiling lost in thought. In an entire year, he might only make 3 major investment decisions. 3. Now look at the so-called elites around you, the senior executives at Fortune 500 companies, or the CEOs killing themselves to launch startups. They work 80 to 100 hours a week. Their calendars are packed with meetings. They have to squeeze in time just to use the bathroom. They make hundreds of decisions every day. Reply to this email, approve that budget, meet this client. If we measure by the dimension of effort, these executives won already. But if we look at the results, specifically the order of magnitude of their wealth, Buffett's wealth is thousands, even tens of thousands of times greater than theirs. Why? Is Buffett 10,000 times smarter than them? Impossible. The variance in human IQ isn't that large. Does Buffett work 10,000 times more hours than them? Physically, that's impossible. There is a massive rift here. It's one of the cruelest and most hidden truths of modern society. In the age of leverage, effort is overrated, and one thing is severely underrated. That thing is judgment. In the agricultural age, when there was no leverage, effort was everything. If you swung your hoe twice, you harvested twice as much as the person who swung it once. It was fair. That was a world of linear returns. But we now live in a world full of auxiliary leverage, code, media, capital. These tools have completely shattered the linear relationship between input and output. In this era, if you are running in the wrong direction, the harder you run, the faster you die. Today, we are going to deconstruct the core and most counterintuitive wealth philosophy of Naval Ravikant. We will explore how to evolve from a doer who relies on brute force into a decision maker who wins everything with wisdom. Because in the age of leverage, one right decision can win you everything. Welcome to Wisdom Compounding. I'm your host. Tonight, let's talk about judgment. What is judgment? Many would say, oh, it's having a high IQ. It's being smart. No. That is completely wrong. You've surely met this kind of person. They are brilliant, graduates of prestigious universities, with logic as sharp as a scalpel. And yet, their lives are a mess. They always invest in the wrong assets, join projects destined for failure, or get stuck in terrible relationships. They have the highest smarts, but not a shred of wisdom. Naval has a very precise definition of judgment. Please remember this sentence. Wisdom is knowing the long-term consequences of your actions. Sounds simple? But it is incredibly difficult to do, because our brains are hardwired to process instant feedback. If your hand touches fire, it hurts and you pull back. That's instinct. But many dangers and opportunities in modern society are non-linear and delayed. Judgment is the ability to see the signposts clearly, even through the fog. This is why I often say, direction is far more important than speed. Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine you're piloting a massive ship. This ship is your life or your career. The ship is equipped with massive engines. That is leverage. It could be the capital in your hands or the team working for you. If you were just a regular rower with no leverage, relying only on your 2 hands to paddle, then whether you row a little faster, a little slower, or if your direction is slightly off, it doesn't really matter, because your impact is small. You can adjust at any time. But when you are piloting this nuclear-powered vessel, the situation changes. If your navigation system, your judgment, is off by just 1 degree, only 1 degree, and you just keep your head down, working tirelessly to pour fuel into the engine, working harder and harder, what will happen? You will race thousands of kilometers off course. The harder you work, the more fuel you add, the further you get from your true destination. In fact, you might be heading at full speed straight into an iceberg. In this situation, what does a great captain do? He doesn't go to the boiler room to shovel coal. He stands on the bridge. He spends the entire day staring at the charts, observing the wind, and calculating the currents. He looks like he's doing nothing, but he is doing something of immense value. He is calibrating the direction. Naval said, "Choosing the right direction at every fork in the road is far more important than how much effort you put into moving forward." This is why in Silicon Valley, on Wall Street, and in the top decision-making circles, people aren't paid by the hour. No one cares if you stayed at the office until 4 a.m. That is the logic of the industrial age. People are willing to pay hundreds of millions of dollars to someone like Buffett, or 10 times the salary to a top engineer, not to buy their time, but to buy their judgment. Imagine a company with a market cap of $100 billion. There are two paths ahead, A and B. This is a life or death crossroads. Now, take two people. The first person has a judgment accuracy of 75%. The second person has a judgment accuracy of 85%. Only a 10% difference. If they were laying bricks, this 10% difference in judgment would be negligible. But under the leverage of $100 billion, that 10% gap in judgment is worth billions of dollars. It might even be the difference between the company's survival and its collapse. So, the company will do whatever it takes, even pay $200 million to hire the person whose accuracy is 10% higher. This is called asymmetric returns. What does this tell us? If you are still selling your time for money, you're playing a game you're destined to lose. Because time is linear. It has a ceiling. You only have 24 hours a day. Even if you don't sleep, you cannot win against those who possess leverage and judgment. You must stop. Stop the frantic running and ask yourself one question. Are these bricks I'm working so hard to carry intended to build a cathedral, or am I just pointlessly stacking them into a wall? If you don't know the answer, put down the bricks. Go find the blueprint first, because effort without judgment is just accelerated destruction. But here is the problem. Since judgment is so valuable, why do most people still choose to sell their labor? Why are we afraid to stop and think? Or is it that we simply don't have the time to think? In the next section, we're going to talk about the killer of judgment, busyness, and why you need to live like a lion, not like a grazing cow. All right, now that we understand that direction is more important than speed, we have to ask, why has the price of judgment become so astronomical in the modern world? Why is it that 100 years ago, a brilliant person might have earned only twice as much as an average person, but today, that gap has grown to 2,000 times? It's because we have something new in our hands, leverage. You must understand this formula. It is the heart of Naval Ravikant's wealth system. Output equals judgment times leverage. Notice that this is multiplication, not addition. As Naval says in his book, leverage is a force multiplier for your judgment. What does this mean? It means that if you're wielding leverage, whether it's capital, code, or media influence, every tiny thought you have is magnified 10,000-fold by these tools. If your judgment is correct, leverage will launch you into the clouds. If your judgment is wrong, leverage will amplify that mistake into a disaster, swallowing you whole in an instant. Let me give you a metaphor from an engineer's perspective. Imagine a software engineer. He's writing an algorithm, perhaps a simple recommendation system. What does this process of writing code require? It requires judgment. He must decide which logic to use to filter information and which architecture will ensure the system runs smoothly. If he makes the right judgment and writes elegant, efficient code, what happens next? Does he need to go and manually install that software for every single user? No! This is replication at zero marginal cost. Through the massive leverage of the internet, that single piece of code can serve 1 billion people overnight. His moment of correct judgment through leverage generates infinite value. While he sleeps, the code works. While he's on vacation, the code works. This is why software engineers command such staggering salaries, because their judgment comes with built-in leverage. Conversely, look at jobs without leverage. If you're waiting tables in a restaurant or doing consulting billed by the hour, no matter how good your judgment is, there is a ceiling on the number of people you can serve. Your time is linear. When you stop, your income stops. Naval is very direct about this. Without leverage, you can have the best judgment in the world, but you will receive meager returns. So everyone, stop being proud of how busy you are. If you're spending every day on repetitive, low-leverage work, you're effectively wasting your life. What you need to do is find a fulcrum. You need to ask yourself, can the decision I am making right now be amplified through code, media, or capital to reach countless people? If the answer is no, then you are still operating on brute force. However, possessing superior judgment has one massive enemy. This enemy lurks in all of our lives, and we often mistake it for a friend. That enemy is called busyness. Look at your calendar. Is it covered in different colors? A 9 a.m. status meeting, a 10 a.m. client call, a 2 p.m. project report. In the gaps between, you're replying to dozens of emails and scrolling through hundreds of messages. You think this is a full life? No, this is brain suicide. Naval left us with these thunderous words. A busy brain cannot produce great ideas. A person who is stressed, overworked, rushing around, and frantic has no capacity for thought. Why? Because judgment requires space. You need to be able to detach yourself from specific tasks and look at the big picture from a higher vantage point. If you're always walking with your head down, how can you possibly see the cliff right in front of you? There is a brilliant biological metaphor here, a concept I truly love. Be a lion, not a cow. Look at how a cow lives. A cow stays in the meadow, eating from morning until night. It is constantly working. Head down, grazing, chewing, ruminating. It is busy, truly busy. But what does it get? Just enough to survive. It stays at the bottom of the food chain. Now look at the lion. What do you see a lion doing for most of a documentary? Sleeping, sunbathing, zoning out under the shade of a tree. To the observer, it looks lazy, but in reality, it is observing. It is waiting. It is looking for that one single perfect opportunity. The moment the prey appears, the moment the timing is right, the lion explodes with incredible energy to deliver a single lethal strike. After that, it can enjoy a meal that lasts for days or even weeks. This is the lifestyle of high judgment and high leverage. You must be like the lion. Maintain extreme idleness in your daily life to keep your observations sharp. Then, at the critical moment, make a decision that hits the mark with one strike. Do not be like the cow trying to trade hours for rewards. Naval even offers a specific suggestion. I encourage everyone to spend at least one day a week just thinking. I know this is hard. You might say, where would I find the time to just zone out? I have a mortgage to pay, a boss to deal with. This is the trap of the poor mindset. The busier you are, the less time you have to think about how to escape the loop. And the less you think, the more you have to rely on being busy just to maintain the status quo. It's a death spiral. The only way to break it is to forcibly cut the power. Give yourself blank space, even if it's just half a day a week. Turn off your phone, leave the laptop behind, and take only a pen and a piece of paper. Think about the questions that actually matter. Am I on the right track? Will what I'm doing now still have value 5 years from now? This idleness is not laziness. It is the process of allowing your brain to regain its capacity for judgment. At this point, you might be asking, all right, I get it. I need to be a lion and I need to find leverage. But where does judgment actually come from? Can I take a class to learn it? Unfortunately, no. Judgment cannot be transmitted like data. You cannot simply copy and paste wisdom from a book. Naval points out two paths to cultivating judgment. The first is skin in the game. Naval says, to have great judgment, especially judgment that is proven in practice, and a high degree of accountability, these points are vital. What is accountability? It means that if your judgment is wrong, you must personally suffer the consequences. Imagine two types of people. The first is the consultant. They give advice to companies and create beautiful slide decks. If the advice works, they get a bonus. If the advice fails and the company goes bankrupt, the consultant simply brushes themselves off and moves on to the next victim. They have no skin in the game. Therefore, a consultant will never learn true judgment. Their knowledge is hollow. The second is the captain. You are the master of the ship. You decide which way to steer. If your judgment is wrong and the ship sinks, you go down with it. Only in this extreme scenario will your judgment regarding the weather, the currents, and human nature be honed to its absolute limit. So, you want to cultivate judgment? Don't hide behind collective decision-making. Step out. Take responsibility for your decisions. Invest with your own money. Start a business with your own reputation. Pain is the best teacher of judgment. The second path is first principles. Many people love watching the news and chasing trends. Bitcoin is up today, AI is out tomorrow, another company goes public the day after. These are all noise. Chasing these things won't make you smarter, it will only make you more anxious. Naval suggests that we learn timeless knowledge. Learn truths that will still be true 100 years or 1,000 years from now. He provides a list in the book. Listen closely. Study microeconomics, game theory, psychology, persuasion, ethics, mathematics, and computer science. Why these? Because microeconomics explains supply and demand, how humans make exchanges. Game theory explains how humans compete and cooperate. Psychology explains how our brains work and how we are easily deceived. Evolution explains the roots of our desires. These subjects are the source code of the world. When you master these models, you no longer need to memorize countless case studies. The way you perceive the world undergoes a qualitative shift. You will see the essence of things rather than the appearance. This is what Charlie Munger calls worldly wisdom. While others are panicked by market fluctuations, you can use the lenses of microeconomics and psychology to calmly realize that this is merely the pendulum of public emotion. That is judgment. To summarize this section, you must be like a lion with plenty of idle time to think. You must be like a captain, daring to take responsibility and using pain to sharpen your intuition. You must be like a scientist, mastering eternal foundational disciplines. When you achieve this, you are no longer a tool selling your labor. You are a decision maker with a God's eye view. With the amplification of leverage, a single correct thought will bring you a lifetime of freedom. Sounds enticing, doesn't it? But where exactly do you start? I don't want you to finish this video feeling pumped for 5 minutes and then go back to being a cow with your head down tomorrow. Next, I'm going to give you 3 specific action protocols. This is your guide to escaping mediocrity. This is your action list, the protocol. Don't just listen, execute. To know and not to do is the same as not knowing. Step 1. Establish your thinking day. I want you to cross off one full day on your calendar every week. Let's say every Thursday. On this day, you are forbidden from attending meetings, replying to non-urgent emails, or handling any trivial administrative tasks. What is this day for? Doing nothing. Or rather, doing things that look like laziness. Go for a walk, read, stare at a wall, or doodle in a notebook. You must force yourself to retreat from the tactical weeds and enter the realm of strategic contemplation. Ask yourself, what is the single most important decision I made this week? Is there a better path? At first, you will panic. You will feel unproductive. Hold the line, because the value generated on this single day will outweigh the output of the other 6 days combined. Step 2. Set your absolute hourly rate. Assign yourself an astronomically high hourly rate. Even if your current rate is $50, I want you to set it at $5,000. Then, apply this filter ruthlessly. If a task is not worth paying someone $5,000 to do, or if the cost of outsourcing it is less than that, you must never do it yourself. Laundry, cleaning, running errands, data entry, outsource it. Buy back your time. You might say, I don't have that kind of money. Even if you are struggling right now, you must adopt the mindset that you do. If you don't protect your mental bandwidth and instead allow your brain to be cluttered with minutia, you will never evolve the judgment required to actually be worth $5,000 an hour. Don't be penny-wise and pound-foolish. Step 3. Reshape your input system. This is Charlie Munger's advice. Starting today, stop reading business news and chasing trending topics. That is mental junk food. It has a shelf life of 24 hours. Read books validated by the Lindy effect, knowledge that has survived for 50 or 100 years. Replace your entire reading list for the month. Read a microeconomics textbook. Read Poor Charlie's Almanack. Read the foundations of physics. Build your library of mental models. When you view the world through first principles, you'll notice the world slows down. The noise vanishes. The signal emerges. Finally, I want to leave you with this. The future will be cruelly divided into two types of people. The first are those who spend their lives laying bricks. They are hardworking and anxious, yet they are constantly at risk of being replaced by machines or cheaper labor. The second are those who know exactly where the bricks should be placed. I want you to be the latter. Your goal is not to exhaust yourself in a display of busyness just to feel productive. Your goal is to cultivate an extreme level of insight so accurate that even if you only worked 1 day a year and made just one decision, the leverage of that choice would be enough to sustain you for a lifetime and perhaps even the next generation. As Naval Ravikant said, I want to be paid for my judgment, not my work. I want the robots, capital, or code to do the actual work, while I earn based on my wisdom. It sounds like a distant dream, but in the age of leverage, it is the only rule for survival. Remember, direction is always more important than speed. At the crossroads of life, slow down, because the choice you make in that single moment determines the landscape of your next 10 years. But once you have achieved wealth, once your judgment has brought you immense freedom, you may find yourself falling into a different, deeper kind of anxiety. You will ask, why do I have all this and yet I am still not happy? Success is often the enemy of happiness. In our next episode, we will dive into the second part of the Almanack of Naval Ravikant to explore a counterintuitive truth. EP06. Happiness is a skill, not a trait. If you found this video insightful, please subscribe and share it with those who are still running blindly. Help them stop. This is a channel for the compound interest of wisdom. May wisdom be with you.